Alright, boys and girls, today we're going to be working on what I consider to be an overpriced boutique handgun. This is the DS9 LOC, apparently, from Masterpiece Arms, MPA for short, and tactical. From what, oh, what the heck? Wow, this thing is really messed up. From what I understand, I'm going to document this and post on YouTube for the whole world to see, because I'm not a fan of 2011s. I think they're overpriced paperweights. They're heavy, they're expensive, they don't do anything that, say, this $500 gun doesn't do. Really, you need this and about 3,000 rounds of ammo to get good. If you just buy that, it's like I said, it's an overpriced paperweight. I used to build 2011s, many of you guys know. Back in the Mike Papakilo YouTube days, I showed you guys all about tuning these guns. Of course, that got taken down because why not hit a man when he's down and trying to be self-employed, YouTube? Thank you for that. Lost another mode of income. Anyway, yeah, I've built them. I've shot them in competition. I think these guns are severely overrated, and this one is a brilliant specimen of that. So this original owner probably shot 1,000 or 2 rounds through it, multiple failures to extract. I think the company even made a video publicly mocking this guy, which is always great. Yeah, it's just terrible customer service, terrible performance. I've seen this gun fail to feed, fail to extract. I mean, it's got Atlas mags. I think this is an MBX. I think this company is complete garbage. I bought a $120 magazine for that Canic that I showed you. It's basically the only way you make a Canic unreliable is to put an MBX mag in it. These companies charge incredible prices for a name that may have meant something in the past, and now that they're making tons and tons of guns, I think they fabricate long lead times and then send the guns early to make people feel like they're more desirable. These are junk. These are absolute production guns. There's nothing custom or competition about them, and we're going to explore that a little bit today. But from what I saw this is gross. This is disgusting. Like, this is already, I'm wondering what's going on here, because this is a terrible fit. When I fit a 2011 trigger, I want that trigger to be just barely loose enough. Like, the top to bottom play of this thing is disgusting. And then the side to side, that's what the clicking you hear. I already would have gone, okay, this is going back to the manufacturer, because this has got way too much slop in it. Which could have been a couple of failure to ignite issues that I'm sure they had. But right now it's having hammer fall, and I'll show you the clip at Space City where my buddy decided to switch back to his Walther. Doesn't seem to be doing it now. See if he's got a push off. So I'm guessing this is just a very poorly tuned spring.
Fuck. Ugh. Fuck you. Fuck you. Man. God damn it.
Because if it had push off right now, it would be a sear hammer engagement issue. And it's not like this gun would short stroke, because it would still go to half cock, which his gun I didn't think was going to half cock. Maybe it was, I don't know. But we'll explore this thing a little bit. And then I don't know what he was thinking with putting a gas pedal like this on here. But that's clearly not on there right. So we'll try and diagnose that for him too. So go ahead and take the top end off of it and investigate what's going on with this spring setup. And I can put calipers to this and talk about tolerances until the cows come home, but that's not really how you figure out a gun, to be honest with you. So I gotta take this monstrosity off apparently. I don't know what size these are, but none of my Allen heads fit them. Thankfully this one was loose. Looks like you stripped them more than twice. I don't know if this gun was drilled and tapped for this originally or something they did aftermarket. I really don't know or care how these guns get set up. Looks like someone 3D printed him a spacer. Maybe the fasteners were bottoming out. So take a look at this here. So the first thing I look for is the rebound, and this rebound's way too light. Yeah, this is like open gun rebound light. The guys like to get like sub 2 pound triggers, which is what this is. So I'm guessing this was set of weight, which every 2011 that gets built, they want to have a sub 2 pound trigger, and they're just not reliable. So, and then if you look where let me get a light in here, where the trigger bow sits in the grip, it's an incredible amount of slop. So this is a very, very poorly fit trigger. So if the head failures to ignite, there's probably some binding issues in here. Because you can see how much that trigger bow has to move in the back there. So that's where all that rattling comes from. And of course they used a modern Allen head instead of a flat head, which of course doesn't fit any normal sized Allens, because why would it? God, 2011 manufacturers just never cease to piss me off. Some bullshit size. That's great. I love this. There we go. There's your extended magazine release. And it actually acts as an over travel stop. You can see that set screw. That's what adjusting that overall length is what sets your over travel. Now I need my special roll of disassembly tape. Apparently I have to go grab a brand new roll of tape and tippy tap this out of here. Or it'll just bend my punch. That's super cool. I love that for me. Guess we're using an Allen head. Wow, this is very poorly fit. Just jamming in there, guys. Don't worry, we'll just charge them $4 grand for a turd. Holy crap. This is the tightest fit I've ever experienced. What a turd. That's incredible. There we go. Really gotta beat the piss out of the thing, apparently. Beveled mag well. He misses a lot of reloads, apparently. Slide our mainspring housing down. Try and take these out without spring and detent flying across the room. See how poorly fit this was. Oh, that's also obnoxiously tight. I love that. There's nothing better than taking 45 minutes to disassemble your gun. My gun's never this tight. Because you never want to pry on these, because you'll scratch and dent your beautiful $4,000 gun. Holy crap. Alright, well, not my gun. It should not be this tight. There we go. So you can see there's a male end there. Rotate this one out. I said rotate this one out. There's the female end that it fits into. And then the grip safety / beaver tail, which was pinned. I don't see any pin on the mainspring housing. There's the detent. I didn't want to go flying. Why is this red / orange? Who puts automatic transmission fluid in a gun? So what we're looking at here, let me flip this strut out of the way. So you've got the spring that powers your grip safety, which doesn't need to be bent out because, well, there really isn't one. And you can see the middle spring hammers your disconnector, and the left spring is what gives the sear power to hook against the sear and the hammer, which I'll show you how that works. Too lazy to go get my jig, but when I take this spring out, someone put grease in this gun. I hate grease. So if you look, this leaf spring, it basically got this thing at bottom dead center, where it needs to be. It's right about there. The disconnector needs to be right about there. Now I've added a whole 3 ounces to the trigger, which is going to be detrimental to someone with no fundamentals. So I imagine that'll probably keep the hammer fall from going away. And like I said, this thing doesn't even need to be bent because it's not. This isn't functioning. So that doesn't make any sense to me. I'll go ahead and continue disassembling this boutique turd. Like I said, it looks like someone put either really heavy oil or like a grease in here. See there, really expensive finish did not hold on this hammer. It basically means it's not fitted very well because it's wearing uneven, which honestly that doesn't matter that much. What I'm curious is what apprentice marks they put on this sear surface. You can see this shelf is where the claw of the sear sits. And I have to go get my gunsmith visor on to really see what's going on here. We'll see if we can zoom in on this for you guys. But what I'm looking for is it to be parallel across and a sharp edge that isn't rolled too far. And until I put it in my jig, which I'm not going to bore you guys with that. You can even 3D print a jig nowadays, but I bought mine from Brownells. It basically sets this thing up like it would be in the gun. And it doesn't look like it's cut even, because the right side has finished, the left side doesn't, but that could also mean the flavor of coating they put on it was thicker on one side. But just to my naked eye, it may just be dirty. Like I said, until I get my visor on, I couldn't tell you. But this is something that I dress. Yeah, it was dirty. Something that I dress last as I'm fitting the gun. I really don't want to take much off of this hammer surface because you plane this surface to make the shelf shorter, and then you can true up that face to adjust how the hammer breaks. So there you go. And then we'll poke out the sear pin. And I don't think this will come off unless I take the grip off. It's been a while since I've taken apart a 2011. Are you the right size? No, of course not. At least these were tight. Last boutique gun that I fixed for a kid at last major match that I rode Didn't even tip me either. What an ungrateful little bastard. Those weren't even tight. So there's the backside. Holds the grip in. Good Lord. I think you got enough Loctite on that one, guy. Definitely got something on those threads. It's all gnarly. Tappy tap tap. Good Lord, that's tight. Custom with a K fit. And then the dumbest set of screws in the history of gunsmithing. Oh my Christ, this is gonna be ignorant. See, I used to build 2011s. We got parts lying around. Let's see what this kit has for me. That's the most infuriating part too, is you need two of them. Because sometimes you get lucky and one of them will get stuck, but 60 thousandths or 1.5 millimeters. Probably 1.5 millimeters. Of course, getting the Allen wrench out of the perfectly sized bag, also not infuriating. Makes you want to just poke it through the side of the fucking bag like this and just be done with it. Okay. Okay. One side. Two side. Nope. Of course, everyone puts 18,000 pounds of Loctite in these because they don't want them to come out, so they're much more prone to get stripped. Did you already fall out? Yeah, you did. Cool. I think you guys got it tight enough. Good Lord. There's no reason for that to be that tight. Okay. So now we get a better look at how poorly fitted this trigger bow is. Just a wide open O-fit. You can see it's got that much room to move, so it's rubbing on either side, but this is going to get wear regardless, because imagine this is aluminum. Aluminum's going to rub against what I imagine. Yeah, this is definitely steel. And it's going to wear, so I'm going to clean that off. You can see where the disconnector flat pushes up against there. I did take a decent amount of time polishing this thing, but it's way undersized. And I don't even think it's square. Yeah, no, this is bent off to one side. So we can get a flat reference here. Yeah, you can tell how that's kind of a parallelogram. So that's bent, so that probably doesn't help. Probably just grab this and bend it. Yeah, you can see how easy it is to bend. Bend it that way. That's a little bit truer. And then you can see you set your pre-travel by bending this portion, which is not bent at all, which is a little weird. On my gun, this is bent out quite a bit. It is really stiff. So that's how you set your pre-travel. So you don't have all that gross rattle trap. And that pushes up against the front of the frame, so it's tight and doesn't have as much free boring going on. But yeah, this trigger bow is definitely bent, and it looks like it's kicked off that way. Kind of bent it back, but not really. And the frame, we'll look at the slide too. This is all very weird. Of course, they don't give me a toolless takedown. How am I supposed to do this? All that money and not even a Dawson toolless. So imagine I gotta do the stupid paperclip thing now. That's great. It's 20 current year. Who has a paperclip? Don't have any paper clips, but I do have some stainless steel musical wire that I used to make KP9 mag springs with. Let's see if we can get this pile of crap apart now. Non-toolless guide rod. This much money, you would expect that. At least I would. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's really cool. $4 buys you that. And I don't know why you would have an island barrel on a optics only gun, but that's a thing apparently. Link is very free to move. Grab one of my 9mm rounds. Okay. I definitely fitted this for long ass bullets. Because these are 28.5mm overall length, and looks like they fitted them for something with an ogive quite a bit longer. Which is par for the course for 2011s. I remember back in the day when I was building these 5 years ago, I basically built them on Fiocchi bullets because Fiocchis were like 29mm overall length, very, very long, helped in feeding with what is essentially a 38 Super magazine. So this thing's wearing pretty evenly, but one of the two things I'm interested in is A, how this hood fit up is. Shine some light on the back of this. See how tight this is. It's a very, very tight hood fit up. There we go. Doesn't roll too much. Yeah, that's a very tight fit. And then if you look at the hood itself, you want to make sure the corners are sharp, right where my thumbnail is. And they finished it after fitting, not before. So whatever black nitride finish this is, almost perfect. So the one, like I said, the one issue this thing was having was, you can see this extractor. You can get feeler gauges in here and measure this, but most of the time I don't bother doing that, because all I do is take a couple different 9mm rounds and just throw it in here, and you'll see this is probably too tight. Yeah, it's still too tight. I told my buddy what to do to tune this, but it's still way, way too tight. It's got no room to move. Because I'm looking, once this is seated all the way in here, like, you should be hearing some rattling and jingling. But this thing's way, way, way too tight. So might as well address this first. But the other thing I was going to look at was how tight they fitted this sliding frame. And it's not too tight. You can see it's got 5 thou worth of wiggle in it. Because a lot of guys will sit here and you can see how this, and you can hear it, how this rotates and rattles. And real dorks will be like, oh, this is so tight. Like, you want this because the slide has somewhere to go. Now, obviously, you don't want a Prodigy where it just sounds like it's clattering, but you can hear like there's a handoff. It's not clanking. So this is a very, very well fit sliding frame. I don't notice anything else obvious. And wherever they sized the deck, they finished over it, but you can see either this was polished upon delivery or just from the slide wearing. And you don't see any wear on the top of the deck because of that rocking. They took enough off the top of the deck it doesn't rub. The first few 2011s that I built, whenever I cleaned them for the guys, because I was like a car dealership. Like, you buy a $2,500 gun for me, which I thought was a lot of money. My low-end guns were more like $1,800, the ones that didn't have optics cuts. I want to know how they wear, for one, so it's good data for me, but a lot of the top of my decks were wearing. The guns weren't unreliable. It was just something I noticed. Where this one, there's no wear at all. And the dust cover is basically spotless, which is interesting. I'm sure he cleaned this right before the match, and he only got 2 stages in. So we're only like 40 rounds worth of dirt into this gun. So I'm just going to go ahead and spray this off real quick. So there you go. The gun's completely dry now. Got a little bit of oil sitting in there, but always pays to have some of this stuff laying around. Alright, so that's clean. Now the top end of this thing, we need to take out the firing pin and the firing pin plate. There's the retaining plate, there's your firing pin, and I'll throw a Q-tip down it just to see if you clean that. You don't really need to put any juice on this thing. A little bit of carbon in there, nothing crazy. You don't need to lubricate this channel. And same thing with the firing pin. That was a little bit greasy, but you'll get a little oil in there, it's no big deal. And then you have to simultaneously push the claw towards the outside because that's where the channel is for the extractor. Because you can see this comes up a little bit and then the claw catches. So I'm going to put pressure there. Come in with my brass punch and push over on that claw and see if we can get this thing to come out, because this is very, very tight. Helps to have a vise, but I'm trying to do it. I'll show you guys that you can do it. There you go. You hear that click where that claw went in. And then get this thing out of here. Don't have to have brass punches if you don't care about your finish. So this looks like one of the newer lightened styles of extractors. You can see that thing was pretty dirty. That can also cause binding because that claw has nowhere to move in that channel, but I would imagine when I put this in here, we're not going to see a bunch of carbon come to the breech face. It's just a lot of sludge. Plenty oiled, but my buddy shot his 2011 probably 10,000 rounds over 4 years and never took his extractor out because he just didn't know. And this had no lubrication in it. It's very dirty though. And it basically pushed a puck of carbon forward. And I didn't have to tune his extractor at all. As soon as I cleaned it out, it started running at the match. It was pretty funny. So now that's cleaned out. Again, you don't need to put any lubricant in there because that's just going to attract more dirt. And there is a teeny tiny puck, a little shelf of carbon on the breech face. We'll see if we can get that to focus. I'll go ahead and come in and wipe that off. And there it is. That little hanger on the left there. So not too bad. This gun's probably got 3,000 rounds through it. So all you got to do is, when we look at this, this is basically in a 3-point bend, right? So there's your center point. You see it's slightly frowny faced right now. So all I'm going to do is take this and bend it right before the ball, at the ball, and away from the ball. Throw it back in. You can see where that extractor sits now. And if I try and pull it back out, you'll see that claw still catches. Ooh, and it pushed out another puck. Look at that. Delicious. Ooh, yummy. So that could be part of your problem. I doubt it though. This gun doesn't have enough ammo through it. So we'll throw the firing pin and the retaining plate back in and do our extractor test again. So I don't think homeboy took enough out of the extractor. And that really just goes to show you this thing's got probably 5,000 rounds total through it. And the extractor is still too tight. That break-in period that manufacturers that make you pay thousands of dollars for their guns and still tell you there's a break-in period, like that's asinine. You cannot make me pay that much money for a gun that runs out of box, much less one that needs a quote-unquote break-in period. Okay. Get in there. So for whatever reason, our plate doesn't want to go back in. There we go. Just had to square it up a little bit. All right, let's do our test again, shall we? See how it rings a little bit now? It's still too tight, but it actually rings a little bit. We're gonna take a little bit more out of that extractor. This thing was stupid tight from the factory. It's not a factory. It's probably an aluminum sided building with a couple CNC machines in it. I don't know, MPA is kind of big. They make a lot of crap for those sad excuses for golfers that they call PRS shooters. Push that back out. And we'll bend it again. That went way easier. So hopefully that'll be the end of tuning. I've never heard of a 2011 or a 1911 having too loose of an extractor, now that I think about it. So I'd be interested to see how loose you can get these before they stop working, because I've never seen a gun not extract and be root cause of an extractor being too loose. It's usually a magazine issue causing a double feed of some sort, or stovepipe, or it bounces off the optic, which is really well known for 2011s. Brass bounces off the optic and gets stovepiped in there. Could you go in your home, please? Holy Christ. Yes, this is another fitted part. I hate fitting that part because you gotta be really patient. And then I gotta pull up on the extractor. Push down this and you can see this is cockeyed like this. I took too much material off of it. I love that for me. There we go. Try our fitment again. There we go. Now she's really loose. I bent that too far now. Now it just falls out. So, gotta bend it again. The other way. I'm afraid that might be too tight. There you go. That's about right. A little bit too tight, but it'll probably wear in. But you can hear it clattering against the breech face. And it falls out. That's all. Honestly, that's pretty close to perfect. I'm gonna leave that there. But yeah, that was way too tight. See the disconnector groove. It's got to stick in that groove, otherwise it won't fire, which is good because you don't want it firing on a battery. See the locking lugs for the barrel are wearing fairly evenly. There's a little bit of a streak on the front, but that's not that big of a deal. Yeah, it's a cute gun. A lot of holster wear already. So take that for whatever you will. Big ass steel grip will spray this out. But yeah, that trigger is fitted piss poor into this grip, that's for sure. So if I were to fit this trigger, Jesus, that's why your trigger feels like shit. And then the up to down, it's like they just threw in this. Yeah, they didn't even fit this. You can see this is a drop-in trigger, all the radiuses. Because normally when you get a trigger, you can see a little bit of rubbage, but these are perfectly radiused. Normally you get an oversized trigger and you gotta size this and this, and sometimes the sides, and you gotta finish it. But they've clearly, like I said, this is a production gun. They've figured out what the stack up of their steel grips are, what the aluminum is, and this is good enough to them. You can see how it bounces back and forth before it goes in. I'll do a slow-mo video of it. Well, that's a very clear indication of this not being a custom fit gun. This is definitely a production gun. They did not give a flying fuck about how this fit. And you can see where I bent the arm. So I took a little bit of the pre-travel out of this thing. And you just have to worry about this square. Oh God, that's just disgusting. Where this sits so that your frame and everything goes back together. So it's definitely textured tough enough. Yuck, that's disgusting. This is a production part. This isn't custom fit. If it is, they beat my eyes pretty quick. These were obviously not fit very well. They got some cute PVD coating on them. Those actually feel fit fairly well. Maybe this gun was just too dirty. You see the safety was actually fit post finishing, because that's how you fit your safety to your sear so that your safety doesn't let your hammer fall when it is engaged. That's what that cam surface is. So maybe this is just dirty and it's hard to take apart. So here's the sear, and where'd our hammer go? I think I'd be able to see the strut. There it is. Oh, that's disco. So the way this sits in the gun is like so. Pin stays in there, the disc goes free to float a little bit. And then, where's the hammer? Did it run away? Did it not want to be part of this horrible production anymore? So that trigger face, the back of the bow pushes against that. This is in the cock position. Obviously the strut is biased from the mainspring to go forward. And these are grabbed like this, so as soon as you push, that slides out of the way just like that. The disco resets, clicks together just like that. So take a look at the sear real quick. And honestly, you can get away with a very poor fit sear if you know how to bend a spring properly, but we'll see how much material they cut off of this thing. Probably too much if I had to venture a guess, because that's what most people do. Oh yeah, you can see right in the center there. That's already worn away on the sides where it grabs the hammer compared to where they cut it on the center. And they've got a cute, real cute bevel there. Yeah. That's already worn quite a bit, which could also give your ham a fall. I try to cut this too cute to give it a really, really soft, quick trigger pull. I usually cut these really, usually actually dull this down a little bit so that you've got more meat. And that bevel cut that they did, trying to get as thin as they can so it's got a quick release, and that's not very reliable and gives you hammer follow. So that's how that stuff works. I'm just going to bend this forward a little bit more to try and teach my buddy that 2-pound triggers don't make you good shooters. Yeah. See if we can't get this thing back together. I'm gonna put it back together dry. But yeah, this is a piss poor fit. Like this should have been fitted better, because this should just slide together. You shouldn't have to bend the ears of the grip apart to shove this back together like this. So that's pretty piss poor. Alright, let's see if I can remember how to do this right the first time, because these are much harder to get together than 1911s. Probably gonna do it wrong. Get that fucker in there. I'm done working on this camera, guys, sorry. So you see the sear and the disconnector. There's that flat face that it pushes against. Like that. Like this. And then you gotta get your hammer in. Get its pin in place. Just like that. And then your grippy do. You gotta make sure your trigger bow doesn't slip the disconnector on the inside of it, because then you gotta start over. Like it's trying to do right now. Flip your strut out of the way. And then bias your disconnector. See how it wants to slip on the far side because of gravity? That's a pain in the dick. Try and pull it back a little bit here. Just slam it home. Nope, because this is too tight of a fit, so I'm just going to try and use gravity to my advantage. And there we go. See the disconnectors on the correct side. Drop in our sear spring here. As you can see, the sear spring is actually cut, so there's a finger on this thing, so it guides out of the way of the disconnect and actually pushes on the sear. And then we can sneak our mainspring housing, which I'm interested to see what kind of spring weight they put in this thing. It's pretty stiff. It's probably a 22-pound spring in that thing, maybe more. And I don't know why guys would lighten that, because it actually helps you fight recoil just a little bit. Having a heavier spring in that, but I know some dudes put a lighter spring in them. So then we need to throw in our safety, not safety, our mag release rather. There we go. We got a little bit of pre-travel out of it. So that's cool. Grab our grip safety and fit that thing in here. Maybe. You gotta wiggle your hammer strut until it gets back in its little groove, so that actually goes in to where the mainspring housing is. And then we can throw our obnoxious I suck at reloading on, and then hammer this hoe in. And then just kind of have this fall out. There we go. Throw the left side safety in. Grab our spring and detent. Small side goes in first. And throw this in. Grab our skinny flathead wherever it effed off to. You gotta cock this. That's why you gotta put this in so it doesn't go sliding out. Depress that detent as you push in the safety. Just like that. Always goes in easier than it comes out. Yeah, that's still a very light trigger pull. Hammer this in. And we'll put our little grip keepers back in, whatever the hell they call them. Don't know if they call them in discussion like they do on a 1911, but whatever. Find our very special sized Allen head that we're going to go find. And you want to make sure that these are seating properly, because this little ear back here sits on top of the frame. You just kind of bend it, and that's flush underneath, so that's good. These don't need to be 19 knuckle tight. That's good enough. So if you hold the trigger, you should be able to push the disconnector and this should lock back. A lot of times they won't. Here's the reset. Very sad reset. And yeah, we've got some trigger problems. There we go. See if I can release that slow again. Yeah, it actually reset that time. I don't know what that first one was. Even with extra power, it didn't want to reset. So that's a way more positive reset. I like that. And like I said, I took a lot of the pre-travel out too, so it's not sloppy. Still quite sloppy, just because of how poorly it's fit, but not as sloppy. Okay, so we'll drive this back in the rest of the way. Frame's done. Oh, yeah, we got that little guy. Don't need to worry about that little guy. Throw this turd back in here. Take a look at this guide rod that for some reason you paid $4,000 and don't get a toolless one. Got a cute little shock buff on there. And if I had to guess, this is like a 9-pound spring. I'll see what he says and I'll put it in the video. It's too light for me. But go ahead and compress this back together with this bad boy on here. This is aluminum. Come on, you son of a bitch. Get back together. Of course not. There. Press that, that falls out. And we got the recoil spring upside down. That's swell. There we go. And it probably would help if we keep this like this for reassembly. And then this is a dry. See how smooth this is. And our shock buff is trying to screw us up. There we go. Oh, you absolute turd. There we go. And we get to play the game called Find the Link. There it is. Try to shove this in here and catch the link. And then shove that back in there. Yeah, so even dry, this is a pretty well fit gun. But yeah, I mean, that's fitted. Sometimes the lugs have to be fitted. The link to this shaft has to be fitted so it goes in the battery properly. This is supposed to be fitted with the trigger bow, but it's not. That's usually not fitted. These usually aren't fitted. The cam on the safety has to be fitted. Sometimes the shafts have to be fitted down. The hammer and sear were definitely fitted, but they weren't fitted very well. This isn't fitted. You can see the gap in the lines there, definitely not fitted. So yeah, this is a production gun that they charge a premium for. That's basically what I'm getting at. So the trigger is now. Oh no, it's 2 1/4 pounds instead of 1 3/4 pounds now. This is why I hate 2011 triggers. So that's binding up in there because the trigger bow is doing one of these. So I've seen him have issues with this thing failing to fire, and it's because if you don't pull straight back on this trigger bow, it's bobbing back and forth. So you actually have to come off the trigger, so you can't really shoot the reset with this thing. Yeah, this gun sucks. So yeah, there you go, buddy. That's that's why this sucks. Most of your problems were probably coming from failures to ignite because the trigger bow was binding inside of it. And now your extractor might work. Probably going to take it to the range, put 100 rounds through it, but I'm probably going to find out real quick that if you're trying to ride the reset, you're not going to get that to pull every time. I guess we'll put, man, that stuff's brand new. Put our stupid second set of screws in. Get in your home. There we go. So yeah, did I mention that the original owner tried to send this back to Masterpiece Arms and they made a video making fun of the guy? So I'm pretty sure that happened. Like I said, I'm going to try and compile a video of everything this gun's been doing and post it for you guys, because there's just something about a boutique gun company that is so immoral and charges so much for their guns and goes out of their way to make fun of the people that pay their bills, that they deserve a little bit of that street justice, you know? It's a real piece of shit humans. Alright, that's as tight as it's getting. So yeah, it feels really nice, it's very smooth, but it sucks, so who cares? The other thing you gotta look at with these is the magazines. Like I said, MBX is one of those morally bankrupt companies that I will not give my money to anymore. I used to take a staccato tube, and most people didn't care about the capacity. I only had one dude that wanted to shoot it in USPSA. Most 2011 people don't shoot, hardly at all. But what are you? Did I put my own screw in this? I am a genius. I put my own screw in that. Anyway, most of the time they keep the slide lock, and it's just a 140 millimeter mag that's 20 rounds. We'll take a look at this MBX magazine. Oh look, it's doing MBX things. So this is why MBX mags suck. This follower just binds in here. This should be fairly free to move, but you can see these springs get twisted after like 6 times reloading them, and you're just putting a torque on the side of the tube, and it binds in there, and you have failures to feed. And of course, you can just take this and twist it back. But how long until your magazine spring twists back around and fails again? So, and this is all to chase, I think 23 or 24 rounds in one of these magazines, which is just insane considering how wide these magazines are, and they barely fit more rounds than like a Glock or a Canik. So I can get 23 plus 1. I think you can get 24 plus 1 in these as a 140 tube. But yeah, that's exactly why MBX mag doesn't work, is because it just torques off. You gotta do some pretty extreme maintenance to these things. And of course, if you drop it in the sand, you immediately have to take your mag brush and clean it out during the match, otherwise they won't run. Some guys swear that MBX mags run, and well, you can see by this spring that it's not even centered. Like it's just a mess. High maintenance boutique guns, that's all these are. Never ever trust my life to one. Push this back up. Let's see how this magazine feeds by hand, because for the most part, the weak part of your gun is going to be your magazine, regardless of make model. If your tube's dented or your spring's weak, your gun's just not going to run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see this is definitely meant for 38 Super, how long that tube is. You'll notice that this mag actually is almost presenting them straight up. You can see it's kind of dipping them down, which is not a big deal for these guns, because I forgot to see if it was Parr Clark or Wilson Nolan cut, but usually they're Parr Clark cut. No one really does a Wilson cut anymore, unless it's Wilson. Okay, so that appears to be full. So when I insert this in the gun, it seats just fine. See how much mag pressure is in this thing. Not a lot. But you can see it does present just fine. The round does not nosedive. It hits the middle of the feed ramp just like it should. It should slide up underneath the extractor just fine in chamber. That's a pretty good extraction too. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 1, 2, 3. So this is a 23 round magazine. Like I said, I've heard of guys getting 24 in them, but I don't believe it. Which is still silly because, like I said, I don't have my Canik mag with a Taylor Freelance base pad on it, but you can see how much thinner this Canik mag is, and it still gets 23 in it with the correct base pad, and it's like, I think you get 141.25 overall length, and I think it's at 140.5. That's 20.25 millimeters. And this obnoxious thing is 23.5 millimeters, but that's because of this long, obnoxious taper at the top. The Caniks don't need to get past that long frame. So that's why you lose a lot of your capacity, because you have to get through that long, obnoxious frame. If they'd shorten the frame of the 2011, they'd probably get 24 in it, no problem. You can see that's just a fat, stupid magazine. So, and a lot of your problems do come from this long, steep bit of friction, especially the last few rounds presenting. That's why these have to be perfectly clean and tuned. And then we've got an Atlas magazine. Let's see how many this thing holds. Almost immediately nose diving underneath the lip of the magazine. That appears to be full. Same thing. Insert in the gun. Not a whole lot of pressure at all. Round pops up into presentation. Doesn't nosedive. Hits even higher on the ramp than the other one does. But we have some failures to go in the battery there. Let's see if the next round jumps forward. That's a very typical 2011 thing. That's why when you drop your mag, when it's still full and it sticks to the guns, because that nose of that bullet is getting stuck in your frame. So that definitely wants to jump out of the gun and hit high. Like I said, they're jumping forward. So I would open up the rear of these feed lips because these rounds are jumping forward. This is very much a 2011 failure mode. So there you go. Count how many rounds this thing had in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this thing doesn't present rounds near as good as the Atlas did. They don't really jump up in position. Same thing, 23. Much more lethargic in this magazine. They weren't jumping up into position near as well, and like I said, they were jumping forward. So the back of this mag needs to be opened up a little bit. With your custom Dawson Precision 2011 mag pliers. And this one, she's got a little bit of torquage, but not bad. So that needs to be rotated back. And their follower's just a little bit different. But same thing, flat follower won't lock your slide open. But yeah, 2011's in a nutshell. They're kind of gay. Like not quite PCC bad, but still kind of gay. I don't think I've ever seen one of these fall out before. There you go. Quality. That one's a little bit better, but still. Yeah. Somehow worth as much as a used car. I hope you learned something today, boys and girls. Bye, Canic.